This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Hello and good morning. Thank you very much for sticking around and welcome on board to Good Morning Uganda Extra. We're going to have a very huge conversation, a very interesting one, which I want to believe most of the Ugandans will as well be fully inspired to join. Robert Nyonyintono is pretty much happy because he has seen a note. Now you can only imagine how the electorate will feel if they see such a note in the conversation we are going to have this morning. Our conversation is the fight against corruption, and Robert Chirabo, we are fighting corruption. So you're not supposed to be highly happy, excited by notes of 50.
We are time when people are moving with huge chunks of money, so the lady on the stage type.
Well, so you think she's one of those Ugandans who move with?
I saw something like it was carrying fish, a huge container.
But Ugandans have their own money, by the way.
But if you have genuine money in this era, in this day and age,
why are you moving?
Why aren't you keeping it in the bank? And why do you choose that the safest place is moving with it everywhere?
Because at least you're seeing it yourself. But to your idea of you, we're going to be having a conversation on corruption, and the bigger question is our society ready to fight this vice? There are so many bigger questions. Today we are turning the conversation to the society. Not only the government, or not only other government agencies and ministries or departments, but also society. And society, speaking of society, society is me and you, because we make this society. But of course, as much as we're talking about the society, it is also important for us to note that even our leaders belong to our own society. So that is the conversation we're going to be having for the next minutes of the show. Trying to understand how ready are we as a country? How ready are we as a society? The communities where we come from, are we ready to push for integrity? Or this is just a conversation we are only going to be, covering on top of it? Robert Chirabo, we start with you. Corruption. This is a conversation that is ongoing, but with the current situation in Uganda's parliament, and then also different entities within the country having corruption being normalized, are we really ready to fight this vice?
Now, I love the topic. Corruption, is society ready to fight the vice? Members of parliament yesterday, the petitioners of the censure motion of the 4 backbencher commissioners that believed, shared amongst themselves 1.6 billion, awarding themselves service award. Now, the members led by Radio Sechikubo have also now decided to take the move to society, because they are seeking money from the clerk in terms of fuel, in terms of transport allowances, or whatever they are, or buses, I don't understand. But Theodore Sechko was clear, they need money. They need money to go to the society and see if they meet religious leaders, if they meet cultural leaders, if they meet various groups. Maybe those groups will compel their members of parliament to sign those that have not yet signed. Now, they had moved very well up to 107, they require 177, but we are told they are lacking about 10 to get to that. Now, when we talk about the will by society to fight corruption in Uganda, I'll say this. First and foremost, we have become very complacent. We have come to believe as a people of Uganda that Uganda cannot move without corruption. And I'm a bit scared that if we woke up and totally eliminated corruption in Uganda, which is the right thing to do, Sonko and many may not desire to live in that country. Because today, a person sets off from home and he has gotten change, driving their Subaru to give police officers they find on the way. A person is arrested and you tell someone, so and so is at police, he has been arrested. Let's go and find out what the case is. They'll tell you, let's first get money. A person is going to a government hospital. Let's first get money. So a person wants to get a vacancy for a child in a school where they didn't qualify. Do you know somebody there? You know, let's be very honest. Uganda today is rotating would I put a fan belt or something is becoming corruption. So many people today actually are not seeing corruption as something we should do away with, but they are thinking of how best can I be able to corrupt someone. If someone is given a position, how best am I going to use this position? Not to serve Ugandans. So over a time, because we've had corruption with us, and we've not taken serious efforts to tame corruption. Because what are we lacking in this country if it's not the will? We have very good institutions. We have very good laws in corruption. I don't want to believe that Geoffrey Kazinda was the most unintelligent Ugandan while stealing money, that is why he was caught. I don't want to believe that Chandi Jamwa, who was sentenced, served his sentence, and then got a presidential pardon. I don't want to believe that the likes of Jimmy Ramafa, let me use people who have served and Sama out, is Godfrey. I don't want to believe that many, a handful actually, that is in Luzira because of corruption, they have not been smart. But our laws have been able to nab them. Sometimes, unfortunately, we more of silver fish than the big fish. But what we are lacking is just the will by Ugandans to say no. To say, let's shun these people. Sonko, a young man gets a job in an institution. He buys a car, he's buying land everywhere, and these are people we want to associate with. So Ugandans, parents, I remember someone when he first drove his first car home. The father asked, how have you been able to buy a car in this short period? I'll not sit in that car. I have my name, I have my legacy, I cannot. So the child knew that fathers don't tolerate. But today they will say Sonko is smart. He has only worked for 3 years, he has built a house, he's driving a car. And everyone wants to associate with bright Sonko. Because how was he? No one is going to say, but how was this person amassed this wealth? So we only condemn corruption in Uganda today when we don't benefit from it. If I steal today, my family will look for the quickest way to get me out. You know? Not to say, how best can we see that Chirabo's children go to school and go through life, but learn that corruption is bad. For us, how do we save our own? And my colleagues, my Sonkos, my Rubens will be there to say, isn't there any way to get this person off the hook?
Okay. And as we head to Rengo District, yesterday the Prime Minister was in the area to assess the readiness of Rengo District to host the National Agriculture Show, which is slated for June 28th. Now, while there, some of the residents in attendance formally pleaded with the President to use his prerogative of mercy to forgive and release their woman member of parliament, that is Honorable Sisse Namuju, who is facing corruption charges. Now, the residents made their appeal through the Prime Minister, who was there to represent the President on national duties. Monica.
Yeah.
When I saw this report...
Does anyone come from Orengo?
I am...
You're from Rengo?
No.
Okay.
I categorically state that I come from the region where the president fought from.
From Luwero.
Nakaseke, formerly Luwero. So I do not associate
with Rengo,
and
its voters.
Everything that they said, I do not.
Okay, now let's get into you know, if society is really ready to fight the vice. Now, some of the residents of Rengo feel that, you know, the president should pardon their leader. Well, on the other side of things, some of the critics of the government are saying it was a good move to see that we have the big fish who are also being arrested in case of any indulgency with corruption scandals or misuse of public funds. Now there is a shift there.
Yes.
Society is not willing to punish, or they feel maybe this was a mistake and their member of parliament needs to be forgiven. Of course, we all seek for forgiveness if at all we've messed up. But what kind of picture does this give us of the society that we are living in?
First of all, when do you seek forgiveness? As a Christian, if I want to seek for forgiveness, I first admit that I did it.
Okay.
Now, this case is still in court, and they are innocent until proven guilty. Right? So, for the constituency and for their fellow members of parliament to be asking and encouraging the voters to ask for forgiveness from the president, what do you hear? What do you hear? If I'm on the jury, I hear guilty verdict. Because why should you seek for forgiveness if you didn't do it? The president told us, I have the evidence. And let's look at the facts of the matter. They wanted to they asked for a 20% cut so that they could exert pressure on the Parliament's committee on how much money would be given to the Human Rights Commission, right? Uganda Human Rights Commission. These are the facts that have been presented currently. Now, let's go back to Rengo. It saddened me to see people that I won't mention, but people that we respect in the country, saying statements like, and I quote, Sisi Namju did a wrong thing, but she's our daughter. And because of that, she has fought for the people of Rengo, so she should be pardoned. Sonko, I may be a great mother. I may look for the fees. I may educate my children and feed them. But if I assault my children, if I strangle my child, what does the law ask of me? What does the law do? I will be arrested
for child abuse.
For child abuse. Despite everything else I've done for my kids, I will have to face the law. I will have to be brought to book. So members of parliament, even those that are really high standing, advising people of Luengo that we should seek for pardon, it is actually an insult onto the person of the president, because he has been at the forefront of fighting corruption. But also, it is an insult to us Ugandans that see public funds and the national cake being divided among just a group of few people. When we have hospitals, and I remember when the allegations of the 1.7 billion that was shared among 4 commissioners, including the former leader of opposition, Matthias Mpuga, when the allegations came out, there was a letter from the president which was asking pertinent questions. Was this legal? Who approved it? Has the Attorney General investigated this? Where are people getting the money to share? Yet, I beg your pardon, yet, we do not have drugs in hospitals. Some hospitals, you've had stories of hospitals that go some months without electricity. You've had stories of prematures sharing beds in health center fours and other public hospitals. You've had stories of mothers sleeping on the floor. If you've been to a casualty ward as a Ugandan, you've seen what happens there. I don't need to repeat it. Just the other day, we had a case of, okay, that was different, but we have cases where hospitals do not have doctors, or because there is no money to pay them, or doctors and nurses striking, or teachers striking. But we have 4 commissioners sharing 1.7 billion. But away from the commissioners, now we have members of parliament asking for a cut so that they can pass a budget for a certain commission. And now we have their colleagues asking the electorate, do they think we are stupid?
May I just want to
encourage,
briefly on that, yes. I just want to encourage the people of Rengo that actually what you're asking the president is very possible, but through a process. If your member of parliament is subjected to the law, found guilty because she's innocently proven guilty by a competent court, then sentenced, and she serves her sentence, there is what we call the prerogative of mercy.
Yes.
That Chandi Jamwa, who was also on corruption charges, serving a sentence.
And he served the sentence.
And he served a sentence. Now, when you're remaining with a third of your sentence,
yes,
the president can't pardon you. Jimmy Ramafa, the president. So, unless they are saying, if they want that pardon very fast, because there, after the committee has sent names to the president, he can pardon any. If he
but this isn't tell us more about the society we are in today, because as much as we are looking into the corruption scandals that we have in the country, my question would be, do you think maybe the society is is more forgiving, or the society is willing to accept that this is where we are?
It is not forgiving. I'm sorry, Robert. It is not forgiving, and it is not willing. Because let me bring you back to the events of the past couple of months. We have had traders striking and closing their businesses. Now, you know, in this country, traders, even on public holidays, will leave their businesses open so that they make the money. When we had the census where people were given a day off, most of them came to work, so you were in the field. And many were like, I have to make the day's bread. But by the time traders decide to put their tools down and close their shops, there is an issue. And among them, when we spoke to Kasita on this program, they told us the reason we are against some of the taxes is how the money is spent. We just have a national budget that was launched the other week that is starting on the 1st of next month. Yes. And the biggest question is that how are we going to finance the 72 trillion budget? And it goes back to you, to me, to Robert and other Ugandans that are paying taxes. And 1 year from now, we are going back to the polls. Exactly. So the Ugandans are not really forgiving because they see what they need not being done. When you've seen my car, I reach here, you may think I'm coming over from which village. The dust and whatnot, it shows that... I joked around that it's either a Mad Max scene that you're shooting. Thank you so much. So what am I saying? Voters are not forgiving. Someone is manipulating the voters to come up with these kinds of requests.
I think my sister is very right. But I just want to give also another aspect of why we are seeing sentiments or requests coming in from Orengo. You know, the white man has a word called precedent. Now, why we are seeing people sometimes bending to and sleeping in the same bed with those that we believe could have eaten evil money. You know? I like your choice of words. Evil. Evil money. Because, you know, when you want an entire budget of Uganda Human Rights Commission and you want a 20% cut, that is evil money. Because some of that money is going to compensate people maybe who are brutally, is going to hold these court sittings for justice for people, poor people, for their rights. Now, it is indeed evil money. When cooperators have to be compensated and a member of parliament, you're stealing their money, that is evil money. If you're commissioners, and if we look at it that way, even if you have the right and it is within your means. Which right? You don't have a right to get as a commission, it is budgeted, and because you cannot have those excuses. You know, you can have all justification. I've seen my Goodland fellow, my member of parliament, Medad Segona, giving reasons and defending and clearly showing that really there is nothing wrong with what. Now, what I'm saying, because people have seen previous incidents of people being labeled corrupt. And the people were not corrupt? And the people either seemingly were set off hook, because let's understand the Auditor General, the IGG, produce reports. Honorable Betty Kamya and the deputy have constantly given reports showing such amount of money is missing in this office. Such amount of money is missing in this parastatal. Such amount of money is missing. Cost workers. Now, if money is missing and the people accountable have not been arrested, what makes you that when I request that my own pardon them, I'm wrong. Because I've seen many corrupt not being followed up, or being followed up, and along the way, things disappear.
But
the
you
media
see,
picks
Robert,
up.
Robert,
First, wait,
on
my
that.
sister. The media picks up. You know, you wonder what happened to this case. I can ask you cases, and today you will ask yourself that what happened. You know.
Okay, Robert, on that, this is why we are having this conversation. Normally, we hold government accountable. I have personally said on this program and elsewhere, and like many Ugandans, that hold people accountable. Why is this minister, why is this member of parliament, why is this person still occupying this office? Now the government has listened. They have arrested these people. They have been remanded, okay? The case is ongoing. And then their fellow member of parliament are now encouraging the electorate that these people are going to be forbidden. So it makes me feel like government is between a rock and a hard place. It is damned if it does, and it is damned if it doesn't. What have we been asking of the government? Hold people accountable. These people have been arrested. There is a case against them. And we have said in the past, we have seen some people may be arrested, maybe an investigation, and it dies down. But now we have an ongoing case. Why? For me, what I hear now is political meddling. If you ask me, members of parliament should not even be talking about this matter. They should let the judiciary do what it is supposed to do. If it is the office of the IGG, let them do their job, and then an innocent person will emerge innocent. A guilty person will now serve time. But when we start doing this, when a case is ongoing, will you be surprised if we wake up tomorrow and probably the charges have been dropped? Will you blame Ugandans for thinking that probably something happened behind closed doors?
Robert, there's an interesting comment that has just dropped in here. And it goes back to the members of parliament seeking to cause the censure of fourth backbench of the four backbench commissioners. And they wrote to the clerk to parliament asking for transport and security to move to different constituencies to enable them to look for more signatures to support their motion, because they are short of 10 signatures. Now, before I even get into why are we short of 10 signatures, this comment is saying, I'm grateful for today's program. I'm Tomwesi Chris from Port Bell, Luzira. Look at this. Honorable Theodore Sechikubo is requesting for money for facilitation to fight corruption while he's being paid parliament salary. Is he not corrupt also? Uganda or Lema, he asks. But let's get into this issue of falling short of 10.
Before we get into the 10 signatures,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about the requesting for facilitation.
The facilitation.
Jerome, when we go to the field as journalists, we have a salary, right?
Thank you.
But when we go to the field, we are facilitated because now this is on the company's money.
Yes.
My salary is my money. So we cannot again say that an MP seeking facilitation.
And this facilitation is actually paid
And
for.
he
It is well stipulated.
And he
Exactly.
said if they can give them parliamentary costers, you know, they have, are they vans or costers, those, you know.
But still it will need transportation. It will need fuel.
He did ask for cash, but remember parliamentarians also have allowances.
Okay.
But it is still there. Allowances for what?
It still comes there to facilitate them do this. Because Ugandans at this point, I think they are saying, you're among the top paid people in this country.
I think
You know?
the problem here is
Because there is a
every
belief that
simple money we think that it is corruption. Some of it is really not.
No, the problem is now
he's saying
because
facilitation,
the society
but,
is really
but also
tired
corruption
of the
can be
cases of
termed
money being
as
splashed
facilitation,
here and
because
there.
we have so much words in English that can mean the same depending on how you apply them.
Robert, okay, let's get into the censure thing here. Having 10, they're actually short of 10 signatures from the members of parliament, meaning not all of the members of parliament are willing.
You see, you have a parliament of over 500.
Yes.
About 527. Now, just imagine, out of 500, about 527, 29, something like that, but above 500.
529.
Now, you need 177 signatures. You're coming to a month looking for these signatures. Actually, I remember one time when Honorable Sir Chikubo didn't find his table and the chair, and then he had to look for them. But it doesn't say that you can only obtain signatures of members of parliament when you put a table there. You can go to their offices.
It's actually 557.
Yeah, 557
so members of parliament constituency.
Yes. So the number is very, very big, even if you exclude officials. But the number is very big. And this would have been something that wouldn't even take a day. But the problem is what we are just talking about. This issue of the 4 commissioners, it depends on which side. One, it has been highly politicized. That is the first issue, because some have seen it as a NUP issue against Honorable Matthias Mpuga. If you remember, I held a Thanksgiving, you know, and the various...
For the 500 million?
For the time he has enabled him to serve. And if you remember, I was following live on YouTube, the likes of Honorable Abedi Bwanika, my good friend, the likes of Honorable Segona. If you could listen to how they would explain the 500 million we are talking about and how they would justify this. To one extent, you see this was right. Because legally, what is right may not morally be right. And morally, what is right may not be legally right. For example, my daughter, as a Muganda man, if I am one, cannot greet me while standing up. Morally, yeah? But legally, I cannot sue. The law cannot punish her for having not greeted me while kneeling. So this issue, is it a legal problem or is it a moral issue? Is it a political plan to eliminate someone from a party because of their misunderstanding? So this is the mix of the issue of the 4 commissioners. Someone will look at the legal aspect of it, and someone will explain it to you legally. And as a member of parliament, you buy the legal aspect and say, but no, this money was budgeted for, this money was passed, they did not extort, they did not steal, so why is the crime? Now, someone will go to the moral aspect, like Joe was saying, I've had him and Robert Chagulanyi explain this, but on a moral ground.
So we are mixing issues.
Yes, then another one will explain it to you and say, no, but look at this. Puga and Noop, you know, this is a Noop thing, trying to tarnish, to do this to Honorable Matthias. So the confusion surrounding this issue, because it has no one lane of righteousness that you can follow, like we are saying the commissioners, if it is true they asked for a cut of 20%, that one is illegal and morally wrong. But when you come to this, it has some technicalities that are making members of parliament, many of them, shun away because they fear that maybe even me some at one point I may get this service award, or I may get money under similar circumstances. Now, if I did pen signature, I'll have tied my own. So that is the critical issue about it. That's why, apart from a few who've come up and said, like Honorable Segumujuma Nganda, for him he said, I have conflict of interest. With this issue, I cannot pen my signature because, first and foremost, the Right Honorable Matthias Mpuga, who is among the 4, he's a very good friend of mine. And in Parliament, the law allows you to declare interest in something and excuse yourself. Apart from Honorable Nsereko, who came up and said, whether it is wrong, whether it is right, I will never. Apart from those that have come up and given their clear position, there are some that I want to believe are still confused on moral and legal aspects.
And you see, when you talk about moral, it also brings in the question of priorities. I'll take you back to a case last year when Parliament, over 348 members of Parliament, censored Persis Namuganza over misconduct. Apparently, she uttered derogatory remarks, okay, Was it against the person of the speaker? And it begs for the question, what is really important? If they showed up in such big numbers to censure someone because of derogatory remarks, how about corruption? Something that has honestly brought our country to its knees. We are a third world country that is grappling to survive. Now, many initiatives have been put in place by the government to fight corruption. Since I was in primary school, I've been studying about corruption and the many initiatives that have been put in place over the years. But when it comes to the people that we put in parliament, and I'm not saying that Persis was right, no. But if we could show up in such numbers to censure someone over derogatory remarks, how about the cancer that we are struggling with as a country? It goes to show, like you said, that some members of parliament are afraid that when their day comes, no one will stand with them. So it is for God and my stomach,
but then
not for God and my country.
There's this issue. Are we going to convict innocent people?
I'm not saying convict
because
innocent
for this
people.
particular case, I'm not defending the 4 commissioners.
Okay.
Yeah? But, you see, for us to convict someone of corruption,
Yes.
They have to be...
there must be, we must have,
they have to plead guilty.
evidence beyond reasonable doubt.
Okay.
So you're saying there is no
Now,
evidence?
This issue, why I believe a number of MPs are shunning the 500 and this, I said is a bit complex. Because when you go legally, can you prove beyond reasonable doubt that this was corruption?
Okay, let me ask
now
you a
let's-
question.
Because we don't ride on emotions.
Robert, let's
we
talk
don't want to
about
ride on...
the cooperative money.
First, wait on the cooperatives. Let me ask, why is it that, and you did ask this earlier, but Robert didn't answer it. Why is it that we have been able to collect, we need 177 signatures. Why is it that over the years, when it comes to things like this, we fail at the very tail end?
10,
Why? Yes.
5.
10, 5,
Very
6.
simple figures.
Because,
Simple
you know,
figures.
because, one, why we are failing or over the years at the tail end, I'm sorry for the word I'm going to use, but for lack of a better word.
Okay.
You know, in politics, for every step you make, it's either a springboard for you politically as a politician,
True.
or it is a diving board for
At
you
the
to
end of the
sink.
day.
So that
Now-
10 people.
Now, when someone
evaluating.
comes with a motion, usually, there's that quick, fast excitement.
Okay.
There's someone who jumps on it very fast.
And many Osainize, you know, news is moving with, but after some time, they then scrutinize. That's why you saw some saying, I want to withdraw my signature. After looking at issues critically with other lenses and saying, but is this really something? There's always that first excitement.
And-
Sech Kubo that has held a press conference and is presenting names.
Yes.
So there's that hurry to jump.
And that's where my question to you,
Now,
Robert, comes in.
thereafter-
Is it for country or is it for person?
It
When
is.
you withdraw your signature, is it for country or is it for person?
If I jumped on a bandwagon, because there is so much political bandwagonism in this country, and also have a problem that there is so much of our leaders that we send to parliament and other elective positions, and many of them, or a good number of them, cannot internalize. That's why some of these members in this thing are telling them, read. Don't just jump on the bandwagon. Internalize.
Robert and Monica, I would want to ask, do you both realize that there is some politicking of the corruption as well?
That's why I said there is political meddling.
Of the corruption scandals here and there.
Yes.
Because some people are trying to look at it as a political move, but yet it's something affecting the entire country.
Exactly. That's why I was not amused when I saw the events that occurred in Luengo. We cannot be saying we are against armed robbery, but then we say, you see, when they steal, they bring the money home. It
Anyway,
doesn't make sense.
I have some
to
comments
me.
coming in from the viewers here. Good morning, Ugandans. It will not be a fight against corruption, but it will be our own attitude. Our own attitude change and finding out who is corrupt. This is Odong Jimmy. This one says, good morning, the beautiful panelists. Hey, okay. Someone
It has spiraled to you
Alani
guys.
from SETA says,
I must look twice in the mirror. I don't know.
So he
No,
says
you
it's
see, when you move with a person like me, it's going
you all
to
become
spread to
beautiful.
you.
He actually says it's beautiful entirely to be part of this conversation. Well, thank you very much. Now, about the members of parliament demanding for the support, he says, if I had well, they requested for a transport. A parliament bus fully fueled and security catered for by the parliament itself, but their welfare and the rest they will cater for it themselves. They stated that they do not need allowances for the job. Now, above all, the country can now come to conclusions that what is happening is actually the true reflection of corruption. So he didn't, he left the name, he's Samuel Alanyi from SETA. Then this one says, good morning team, the 1.7 billion was an illegality, reasonable doubt, without reasonable doubt, my goodness, yes, it was corruption. The commission has over 20 members. Why is it that only 4 members received the pay? This is Yasa from Chitende. And then there is this one saying, it's a good discussion since I'm personally following the views from Nebi district. And I'm among the victims who have been corrupted in one way. I remain Agomoko Siraji from Nebi. Now I'll stop with this one before I get back to the team. Over the matter at the table now, I've keenly observed the essential issue is being vaccinated slowly. I don't know what he means by the vaccination.
It's being iced if it's a cake.
Our country has all the
suffering a sweet death.
He said our country has all the crinkum crankum to divert us to something else.
Is that honorable midday?
They know people are already in the know of the end results, something that has been meddled and peddled in more aspects. Woe to our country indeed. This is Ken. He has used some serious language to deliver his message. But crankum. Yes, he says it's being vaccinated slowly. It's like it's being treated but not being fully treated. And we are we know where the issue is, but we do not want to.
We are looking the other way.
The
we are
other way.
pretending not to know what's going on. But gentlemen, when we look at the events of Rengo and now let's take the focus away from the members of parliament or the politicians, the attitude of the electorate, because the big question you are asking today, Joram, is are Ugandans willing to fight corruption? And personally, if you ask me, I will say no.
Okay.
Earlier, when we were starting Good Morning Uganda, Robert did mention that Ugandans only fight corruption where they're not benefiting. So it goes back to our individuality and our personal attitudes when it comes to fighting corruption. What am I saying? I have a child. He is done with senior 4 or P7, and I need them to be in one of what you'd call the Ivy League schools in Uganda. And probably the cutoff points are maybe 5, and my child has 6 or 7, and I have money, or I know someone who knows someone, okay? Or I am part of the alumni. What am I gonna do? I want my child in this school. I will give a donation, I will pay some money and whatnot. This is now on an individual level. You're driving in your car, you're dropping your children to school, they are in the back seat, police officer stops you, you have no permit or it's expired or something, tires, whatever, you give him a 10,000, your child is watching. What are you teaching them? That it's okay to be corrupt. You want to see a minister. You remember there was an allegation that some people are making celebrities. You remember when we had Terence Howard, Akon, and there were allegations that there are people who actually tell certain celebrities that if you pay me this amount of money, I will take you to see the president. Yet we know that it is very hard to see the president. And many people have been defrauded because they didn't meet the president, because that's not how
things are
it
done.
works. Exactly. So when you ask me, are Ugandans willing to fight corruption? The answer is no. But also let's go to the Ugandan at the grassroots that is poor. If your member of parliament is one who will give a donation in church, support a certain initiative in the village, you will think that they are working for us. So they stole, but the money came to the constituency, so they should be forgiven.
You've just reminded me of...
your final submission.
Actually, she has just reminded me of my late friend, Nasantege Sebagala. This man went to the United States, had his issues. I was young. I remember he was coming back from Entebbe Road. But people around my village, Katale Busawura, we were told, let's go and welcome Nasantege Sebagala. So we stood by the roadside, and I saw a lot of Ugandans jubilating. I'm told jam came all the way up to Kampala, and traffic went to a standstill. Now, I heard one man saying, ono yabba bazungu siffe, yabba aletedde ffe ono muzira waffe. I thought it was before something. Said, and he was cherished and welcomed. And he was our hero in one way or the other. So, and now the electorate you're talking about, at least I've been in local council elections. The people today, winning a vote in Uganda and you don't have money. A man in his 60s is going to tell you, Chirabo, you have the ideas, you push us to development, na yonde sotia. Then as you're still looking, he will touch the throat. Hey, Mukuru. If you vote, I have, but what are you giving me? Now, if I buy myself to a position, that's why people, you know, these guys are going to banks and giving land titles of homes to become members of parliament.
And that's why members of parliament are very, you know, high risk.
People are buying jobs. People are buying jobs. If I bought a job for my brother in a certain institution at maybe 20 million, he has to recap this money. There's a time the president on district service commissions. You remember? People are paying. Now, when I pay you to vote for me and you demand services from me, I had to take my land title to a money lender to become a member of parliament.
That's if you had a land title.
That's if I had a land title. Or I had to go to friends and all this, get this money. So we must accept that all have sinned and stolen forth of God's glory. Now, how do we as Ugandans have a turning point? Because now corruption is syndicated. So when you come to arrest a Chirabo, Najuma was part. And then you have to go to Najuma to give you evidence to implicate me.
And to implicate Sonko.
And to implicate Sonko. We are all in the same deal.
Chain.
It's a chain.
Yeah.
So we've all accepted corruption. Unless, I don't even know what we can do at such a point.
No, I
and
think...
say, we need a starting point.
We need
if
to
His
start
Excellency
with
this time has come out and said, I'm determined, let's respect the rule of law.
Okay, and
see
let me get through
if a precedent will happen in our country.
Robert, let me get through some comments here as well as we are summing up with our conversation. This one says, if you want to truly fight corruption, just put them on firing squad, sell all their property to get back the money. No one will ever dare to play with public money.
But how will you convict them?
Otherwise, this is Abdallah
because you must first convict them.
Then we have Ongom Negri from Gulu City says, corruption, corruption. A man comes in the name of a company in a lodge that is meant for 75,000 per night, pays for the receipts cashed at 150,000. That is how deep corruption has gone. My man is getting this one deep from the inside.
Someone comes and says, how much are your rooms? 50,000. No, put 100 each room.
Yes.
Thank you. Jerome, let's look at today's dailies.
In a minute.
Yes. In a minute. And the Daily Monitor has, in its headlines today on the front page, they say, war on graft, I am not joking, says Mr. Museveni. And they have what they called the Uganda Corruption Report Card. And it shows tax leaks about 136 billion, money lost through a porous tax system. Public utility user fee equates to 478 billion, and this is the cost of user fees for public utilities. And then 866 billion, this is natural resource fee, money swindled through natural resources rent per year. 763 billion, which is bribes to judicial officers, illegal payments to buy justice, and 91 billion shillings, which is security graft, the cost of corruption involving security forces. And this is according to the IGG report of 2023.
I'll end the show with this comment. This one says, good morning, analysts. It needs more than a decade to get rid of corruption in Uganda. Do you know why? It is not until all of us have financial freedom, advantages of disadvantages of being poor, because the poor people get disadvantaged or are always taken advantage of. This is Adrigo Fred from Moyo district.
But he doesn't have to worry, because I'm very sure soon the poor are going to be left with nothing to eat except the rich.
No, but anyways, the
And they
government
have
is
begun
making,
eating.
and to you, dear viewer, I'm just reminding you that the government is making more efforts to ensure that they lift the livelihoods of the Ugandans through the parish development model, amongst other programs. So the chances are very high so that we get into the money economy. I don't want Chirabo to water down those
I'm
efforts.
just on that. I'll be very happy after 3 years
to see the
and
growth.
see the progress and the reports of the Auditor General.
And also,
What they will say, if they don't come up as that, then I'm sure the poor will not eat that. That's why you see today, when you build your own house, you put a fence, you get dogs, because the poor are coming to take what you eat the rich
and
of what you're able to amass.
we should all be afraid of a moment when the poor will have nothing to eat except to eat the rich. We shouldn't get there, because when the poor did that, if you know your history, that's when we had the French Revolution. That's not what we need as a country.
All right, and myself and the team shall be back tomorrow morning from 6:30 a.m. to ensure that we inspire young mornings here on the national broadcaster, live from Nile Avenue Broadcast House. I'm Joram Paul Sonko, Olive Monica Najuma, and Chirabo Robert Nyonyi Ntono. The conversation has been corruption and how whether the society is willing to put an end to this, and whether we shall even survive this kind of time of dealing with corrupt officials, high-end officials, or even corruption cases amongst ourselves within the communities we reside from. But besides that, thank you very much for throwing in your comments and your views on the topic that we are having this morning, and of course listening to the wise words of the analysts of the day, Robert Chirabo Nyonyi Ntono and Olive Monica Najuma. Till tomorrow, have yourselves a good day and a good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala.